Good morning, everyone. Apologies, it's another pre-recorded reading of Stone Cold, but because I have a school assembly to give at 9 o'clock tomorrow, and then I've got the governors coming in at 9:30 to risk assess everything for the wider opening of school, hopefully for some year 10s and some year 11s on the 15th of June. So apologies, I can't be with you again in person. I hope some of you are following along and enjoying it. We'll read the next few chapters of Stone Cold today, and then we will probably, almost definitely, finish on Friday. So if you remember, we last up were on Daily Routing Orders 13, where Shelter was talking about how things were going with his recruitment of the unfortunate young people that he was killing and burying in his flat and the things that he was doing. So we will read on from page 102, which I will put at the final pages on Shobi. I thought I had already, but there are a few more to go, so I'll put the final pages on. And we'll take it from there. Where was I? Oh yes, spring, the real world. It was magic being with Gail. Like I said, I seemed to stop noticing the cold, and tapping became a sort of game for us. A contest to see who could score most. It wasn't heavy, I don't mean that. It was a light-hearted game. I never minded when Gail won, which she often did. Mind you, the situation had drawbacks. For a start, I got jealous of Gail. Possessive, I suppose. I hated letting her out of my sight. Well, she was so good looking, I was terrified some guy had come along, someone with a job and a car and a place to live maybe, and snatch her away. Well, it'd be no contest, would it? And that was the other drawback. I started wanting work so I could offer her a home. I'd always wanted a job, of course, but now it became a longing, almost an obsession. Worst thing was, I knew it was a non-starter. Nobody was going to give me a chance the way I look now, but it didn't stop me wanting or trying. I really did try too. I haunted the job centre, wrote letters on nicked paper, bought stamps I couldn't afford. I even had a couple of interviews, but I never got a result. They know, you see. You have to give some job club a return address. They know you've nowhere to live. They know you haven't worked in a long time, maybe never, and they don't want to know. They've so many applicants to choose from, why should they take on a dosser? I wouldn't if I was in their shoes. It was torture too, because every time I went chasing after a prospect, it meant leaving her behind. And all that time I was gone, I'd be worrying. Maybe there's one reason I never got anything. They could tell I hadn't brought my brain with me. Anyway, April came along and my situation hadn't changed and Gail was still with me, which astonished me when I allowed myself to think about it. She didn't seem to mind that I had nothing to offer. I put it down to love. One Saturday, it was a warm, sunny day. We were sitting on the towpath opposite Pullet, the local night spot, enjoying the sunshine, when a middle-aged guy came up to us. "Excuse me," he said. "I wonder if you could help me." I thought he must be lost or something, but then he said, I'm trying to trace my daughter. But then he said, "I'm trying to trace my daughter, and I wonder if you might have seen her. Her name's Tanya. This is her." He held out a snapshot. Gail took it, shook her head, and passed it to me. It was Toyah. I nodded. I've seen her a couple of times. Oh, where? The guy practically jumped down my throat. Where did you see her? When? I nodded towards the lock. There, at the market. Not for a while, though. Did you talk to her? Did she say where she was living or anything like that? I shook my head. She was Dawson, I think. I don't know where she hangs out. Was she with anyone? An older man, perhaps? No. Once she was with two young guys. The other time she was alone. I looked at him. Why should she be with an older man? He shook his head. When he spoke, I could tell he was trying to keep from crying. I don't know. I spoke to a man last night, a man in a watchman's hut. He told me he might have seen my daughter about a week ago going into the ground floor flat of the house he lives in with a man who has the flat, a man in his 40s. Did he give you the address? Have you tried there? I knew his informant must be Captain Hook. He nodded. I was there last night. I rang the bell, but there was nobody in. The guy in the watchman's hut, does he know this man? No, he's not been there long, apparently. Have you tried the police? No. I tried them many months ago when Tanya left home, and they didn't want to know. She's 17, you see, free to go where she chooses. He stifled a sob. It's breaking her mother's heart. Poor sods, I thought. They drive their kid out, probably without meaning to, then think tramping around London with a snapshot will get her back. It won't. I wish someone cared about me like that. Look, I said, we'll look out for your daughter, and if we see her, we'll say we saw you. Get her to phone home, okay? He was so grateful, he practically hugged me. Oh, bless you, he said, shoving a fiver in my unresisting hand. Oh, bless you both. He shambled off, clutching his snapshot and his useless hope. Gail and I watched him go, each pretending not to notice how close the other was to tears. Daily routine orders 14. Bell around my belt last night. 2,200 hours. I wasn't worried. Provided you've got the situation under control, there's nothing to worry about. A swift recce through the curtain showed me a shortish chap of about 45. It was too dark for me to see his features, but something about the way he was standing told me he was agitated, so I judged it best not to reveal my position. I never show a strong light after dusk. My table lamp, a 60-watt bulb, and from the outside, with the curtains drawn, low and no illumination is visible. I know this because I've checked. Always check everything. That's my golden rule. So I lay low and waited. He tried twice more, then left. I don't know who he was or what he wanted, but instinct warns me he could be related to one of my recruits. I might be wrong, but my instincts are usually pretty sharp, so I'll exercise particular care over the next day or so. By golly, I will. Page 107. We'd probably have thought no more about it if it hadn't been for Nick. I mean, Captain Hook might easily have been mistaken, and people move on all the time. I'd have forgotten Toyah even quicker than I forgot Ginger if we hadn't run into Nick that same afternoon, and who knows what might have happened then. Nick's the guy who sells the big issue on Camden Station, but we came across him under the bridge on the High Street, and I just tapped a yank for a quid when he came up to me. "I'm glad I saw you," he said. "Something funny's just happened." "Don't tell me," I said. "The Prime Minister's offered you a kip at number 10, right?" No, listen. You know, when you're looking for that mate of yours a while back? Ginger, yeah. Well, I told you I saw him leave the station with an older guy, didn't I? Yeah, an older guy. Now, where had I heard that recently? Well, this morning, an old gimmer comes up to me with a photo of his daughter asking if I've seen her. I nodded. "We saw him too. What about it?" "This is about it, my old mate. I did see her a few days back, leaving the station with the same guy your mucker went off with." I looked at him. "What are you saying? You mean they go off with this guy and vanish? Dodgy or what?" "Yeah, dodgy. Did you tell the old guy?" "Sure. He said somebody else saw the lass with a man going into a house." I know. It was Captain Hook. His flat's in the house. The guy's been there, but nobody answered the door. Did you tell him to go to the cops?" "No. No point, is there? All they say is daughters move on all the time. No evidence, see? Nothing concrete." "Yeah, but..." "I know. We could be talking murder here. Double murder. But it's all supposition, my old mate." "So what do we do?" Nick shrugged. "I know what he looks like, and the gallant captain has the address. I suggest we watch him for a bit, see what he does. If he's what we think he is, he's bound to give himself away. Then we tell the fuzz." "And what if he takes some other kids home in the meantime? You can't watch him 24 hours a day." I looked at Gail. "What do you reckon, Gail?" I'm not sure, Ling. Listen, I've got to make a phone call. My sister, I see you outside in the Brasilia in 10 minutes and we'll talk about it, okay? We watched across the street. Nick grinned. "Nah, that's what I call a cool chick." "Well, we'll tell there's probably a killer talk in the streets and she goes off to phone her sister." "I don't know where you find them, Link, old son." He punched my arm. "I'll see you." The afternoon was warm, the pavements thronged with sightseers, and I strolled along to the Brasilia and leaned against the wall with my eyes closed, enjoying the sun on my face. If I'd known then what I know now, it would have spoiled my whole day. When Gail got back, I said, "We should go to the fuzz. I've been thinking about Ginger, the sort of guy he was. He wouldn't have just gone off without saying anything. I'd half convinced myself he'd done exactly that because there'd be no other explanation. But now..." "Can if you like," said Gail. "But I doubt if they'll be impressed." Went up to the Albany Street and they weren't impressed. In fact, it took us all our time to get past the front desk. Eventually, Detective Sergeant came, Detective Sergeant Ireson. He took us into a cubicle and I started to tell him about Ginger, but he interrupted. I should tell you that the following representations by a member of the public, the matter you're concerned about was investigated, nothing was found, and no further action is contemplated. No further? Did you talk to the guy? Did you ask him what he was doing, my mate? With this Tanya? The sergeant looked irritated. All normal procedures were followed, he growled. Nothing was found to justify further action, so the matter is officially closed. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have a job to do. But what did the guy say? Good day, sir. Page 111. Daily routine orders, 15. That's the sound of Shelter having the last laugh. And no wonder. The enemy has attacked in strength and been repulsed. I just got back from buying boots and was feeding a damn cat when they arrived. 2 officers in an escort. 1 male, 1 female. I considered not answering the door, but then I thought, why not? This was bound to happen eventually. Confront the enemy, Shelter, old lad. No retreat, no surrender. I was magnificent. Stowed my purchases in the cupboard, smiled on the step, invited them in, offered coffee, which they declined. How could I be of help? We're making inquiries about a young woman, they said. This woman? They pushed a snapshot at me. Suddenly, hoping I'd flinch or something. Give myself away? Not a chance. Oh, yes, I said, cool as a cucumber. We've met. In fact, she was here in this very flat just the other day. A week last Tuesday, to be precise. Well, of course, they wanted to know why she'd been here, under what circumstances, at which point I went all shy and modest. Ah, well, I said. You see, I'm lucky enough to be quite comfortably off. I have money in the bank and a good pension, and I feel terribly sorry for these unfortunate young persons. One sees sleeping outdoors in cardboard boxes and so forth. So now and then I invite one of them back here for a bath and a hot meal. I never let them stay overnight because, well, I'm afraid I might be murdered in my bed, I suppose, but usually I give them £1 or 2, they're on their way. At this point, I shrugged and gave them my daftest grin. It's silly, I know, but it makes me feel better. It could be dangerous, sir, in all sorts of ways. I know, officer, but the stupid grin again. So you fed this young woman and gave her money? Yes. Did you talk to her, sir? Did she mention going away at all? Well, I shook my head. They tend not to talk about themselves, Inspector, and I don't pry. He was a constable, but I addressed him as Inspector. Of course not, sir. What time of day was it when she left the house? It was evening, late evening, 10ish, 10:30. It was raining. I did a rueful smile. I hate to turn him out, but as I said, quite, sir. And she didn't say where she was going? No. I'd practiced the concerned frown, and I employed it now. I do hope nothing terrible's befallen her, Inspector. She was a charming girl. Charming. Yes, sir. From a good home, I believe. They moved towards the door. We won't take up any more of your time, sir. Thanks for your help. And do be careful you bring into your home. Some of them are dead wrong uns, you know. I know, Inspector. I'll be careful. I stood in the doorway with the bloody cat in my arms. When they were halfway down the path, I called after them. Will you let me know if she turns up? Of course, sir. Good night, sir. Good night, Inspector. Good night, Sergeant. Page 114. So now what do we do? We're walking back up Parkway, and the sun was going down. Gail shrugged. What Nick suggested, I suppose, keep an eye on this chap and hope he slips up. I think we should warn people. Don't go off with anyone. You think you'd know that anyway? One thing we need to know is what he looks like. I nodded. We'll get Nick to point him out on Monday. Why not now? Not tomorrow? I shook my head. He won't be around. Nick, I mean, lives in a squat. I don't know where. We could try, spot guy ourselves, get a dress from Captain Hook. I scoffed. He won't give it. His own address, Gail. He'd think we were planning to do his place over. She grinned. I think he'll tell me if I'm by myself. You take my pack and wait here. I waited on the canal bridge. It was dusk and turning a bit nippy. I shivered, and it wasn't just cold. I was thinking about Ginger and Tanya, who liked to be called Toya, and her dad, who said bless you and shoved a fiver in my hand. I was thinking about Gail too. How she'd changed my life for the better, but how whenever I thought of her, a faint unease would stir somewhere deep inside, a sensation I strove to smother or ignore. A cool chick, Nick had called her. But it wasn't quite that. She was cool, but there was something else, a self-possession which jarred with her circumstances. It seems a funny thing to say, but she wasn't screwed up enough. I must have known too, deep down, but I kept shoving it away. If it was a dream, it was a warm dream, and I didn't want to wake. And again, we see that narrative device used by Swindells here, that idea of foreshadowing. And if we're listening carefully to the narrative and to what's going on, we should be picking up clues as to what might happen in the near future. She was back in a few minutes, smiling. 9 Mornington Place, she chirped, shouldering her pack. I nodded, but didn't say anything. and we set off along the high street. It was a biggish 3-story house in a short Victorian terrace. There was a minute a minute sour-looking front garden in which 3 dustbins took up most of the space. There was no gate. A short path led from the gateway to the white door. No light showed in any of the windows. "Nobody home," said Gail. We were standing in the shadow of some of the budding sycamores across the street. "Let's hang about a bit," I murmured. Looking at the place made me shiver. The video inside my skull came on, and I saw Ginger following a shadowy figure up to that white door. Is that how it happened, I wondered? When exactly? Where was I at that moment? And why had Ginger followed him? Ginger and Toyah and possibly others. Why? Gail had a watch. We waited 45 minutes. Nobody went in. Nobody came out. A woman kept coming to a lighted upstairs window next door, seeming to look straight at us. Probably couldn't even see us, but it made us nervous. If you're homeless, it's not smart to be found loitering in a residential area, especially after dark. And she might just phone the police. "Come on," I said. "I'll try again tomorrow." And I think we'll leave it there, and we will do the last 15 or 16 odd pages on Friday. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for following along. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you have a good day of learning and fun ahead of you.